Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the I Do Music podcast, and our goal and our mission is to empower and educate musicians and artists worldwide. And on today's episode, we sat down with account manager for Google Ad Services, Jamie Coleman, discussing how her HBCU landed her an opportunity at Google, how sometimes our paths are redirected for the better, and how creators can leverage their platforms. Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the I Do Music podcast, and I'm sitting down with account manager for Google Ad Services and so much more we're going to get into, Jamie Coleman.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
No problem. She's like, what are we talking about?
Because I don't know what's in store, but I love conversation, so.
Yeah, so, I mean, this podcast, I love to see what the person can offer to our audience, which, you know, ranges from aspiring artists to producers, songwriters, and so forth, or just people who have a genuine love for music. And I know that what you do and your journey can probably benefit them too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's start from the beginning, kind of the beginning. Okay. I know you graduated from Alabama State.
Yes.
HBCUs.
Yes, gotta love them. HBCU, shout out to those.
Yes, absolutely. What did you major in at Alabama State?
Yeah, so I majored in marketing, and then I had a double minor in international business and broadcast journalism.
Really? Mm-hmm. So what was your goal when you first went into college?
Truthfully, I didn't know. So I was interning at a news station in Detroit, WDIV channel, Local 4 News. I remember that. And I loved talking and having the conversations and going to go find things that would relate and resonate with people. But then it got to a point where it's like, you love to do this, but they're going to put you in the backwoods and have you work crazy hours, and it's just not worth the opportunity. Well, it wasn't worth what I was going after. And then I got offered the internship at Google, which I was like, okay, I've been, working at the news station for about 3 years now. Let me go see what, this is about. And got into Google. And originally, if we're being honest, I said yes to Google because of obviously the name, the recognition, the learning it would give me, but then the paycheck. Like, it was triple what the news station was offering me. So I'm like, would I rather struggle working crazy hours or go to this known company, get myself stable, and then begin to figure out who I am? So that's kind of started the journey of Google. So got there, loved it, loved the people. And it was a place, and it was the first place I was like, okay, this is an idea, figure out how you can maximize it. And It wasn't anything crazy. It was like, oh, let's put a cat on the moon. And it wasn't like a laughable thing, but it was like, okay, so how are we going to do that? Right. Yeah. Like, what do you need to get that done? And I was like, oh, we doing that? Okay, let's figure it out. So that's, what really kept me into Google. And there, I've just been there for us. And I just moved down here. About a year ago, when I first started at Google, I was doing small, medium-sized business sales. And so I was helping like the mom and pop shops or like the local plumbers or even like one of the brands, Glossier, helping them 4Ocean get up off the ground, get their digital presence beefed up. And then the opportunity came for me to move to Atlanta, where I could do it on a much larger scale and actually work with the clients for longer periods of time. Before, it was usually 3 months, and then became 3 to 6, 7 months, and now it's like you're with them until you switch roles. Gotcha. So it's been a complete evolution.
So the internship with Google, how did you land that position? Like, how did it even come across your radar?
Yeah. So I was very intentional when I got into college my freshman year. I saw the movie The Internship with Vince Vaughn and all that. And I was like, oh, Google looks dope. Like, I kind of want to try this out. And so I became intentional. I started telling everyone, like, I'm going to work at Google. And I had ended up applying to the internship my freshman year. Wow. And they, overly ambitious. Right. But they sent back an email from a recruiter. It was like, hey, thank you for reaching out. You're too young. Hit us up in a couple years. But here's a program that you can get into that's fit for sophomores. And so that was a Google immersion program. And what that was like a week of, they fly you out to the headquarters and they're just running you for ideas. Like, what do you think about this? To 10X this, do this. How do you feel about this? How would you make this and design this differently?
So it was like focus group.
Yeah, it was like focus group, but you got to really be submerged in the culture of like, this is what we do on a daily basis.
Gotcha.
And then from there, it was kind of like a catalyst. So because I got into the program, the immersion program, they opened up my application for the internship like 2 months early. So you're able to actually apply, and you got called back within a week for at least an interview. And so then I knew by November where I was interning that following summer, where everybody else, their applications didn't even open until December. So I had been solidified literally like almost a year ahead that I was working there for the internship.
That is that overly ambitious thing that obviously worked for you.
Definitely.
Absolutely. You were already in communication with the company.
Yeah, most definitely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was, it worked out, I think. And then even just the people that I had found people on LinkedIn. And when I started telling people I wanted to work here, they're like, oh, I have a friend that works here. Like, let me connect you with that person. So it was just simply, hey, can I come to the office? Can we just chit chat for a second? Like grab coffee, and we get breakfast and lunch free. So it was like, come here, you can eat for free, we'll talk.
Right. It's as a college student, I'm like, yep, let's go.
I need, I've been eating pizza for 5 days. Like, I'm coming. But yeah, so that kind of started all of that. And I've just been with the company ever since.
That's crazy. That's amazing. So would you say that like you started to gain an interest within like, you know, this tech space and this like ad space after having that internship, or you kind of already had some sort of interest in this space?
Oh no, I had no idea what Google did and the ads. I was like, what are ads? Or
Right,
what is
right.
any of this? And so it was something that was thrown onto me.
Gotcha.
And I didn't realize how big of the non-tech side there was at Google. Like typically you're thinking you're working with engineers
Right.
and product manager, and it's like I have to have some type of coding experience. I'm like, I have nothing. I talk to people.
Right,
like that's
right.
what I write stuff and I talk to people. And then when I got introduced to Google, and they began to say like, oh no, we actually have a non-tech side where this is what we do, and those things you see on YouTube, we put those there, and like and that's when that was the first time I realized that Google owned YouTube, and I'm like, oh, y'all own this too? I want to work there, I want to do things like this, and it was kind of the introduction, the exposure that was like, oh, this is what you guys can really produce, and I fell into ads. It wasn't like I sought it after. It was like based off of your current resume and what you do, we think
This
sales
makes
would be
sense for you.
sales would be the best thing for you.
Gotcha.
And I was like, no, that's not me. But that was the same thing how it was with journalism. When I fell into it, I wanted to do sales. And they're like, no, we're going to put you on the reporter end of it. And my first, the reporter that I was under, she's like, I'm going to train you like to be a reporter. I'm like, I don't want to be a reporter. She's like, no, I'm going to train you like one. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to do it, but you're going to learn how to do it properly. And I fell in love with it. So I was like, well, this could be the same thing here. I don't know what it's about, but I'm open to trying it. And I can't necessarily say that I enjoy sales, but I understand why it's necessary.
Yeah.
Like you're always, in any shape, way or form, you're selling yourself.
Something. Yeah, for
So
sure.
you're selling something, you're selling yourself. So these are skills that are transferable across the board. And I'm growing in crazy rates, figuring out how to talk to people in different demographics. People who are different tax brackets. People, my clients are like Neiman Marcus and Dillard's. So people who have been around for a long time that own these billion-dollar companies. How do you get them to say yes to what you want them to do? So that was a very pivotal learning point for me.
Dope. So you said that you initially started off with like the small businesses. So I have a question in regards to so you guys have a special division for small business or products for small businesses at Google?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people in the entertainment industry, or like people who do music, they may not be, Chris Brown, but they have, they're indie artists.
Yeah.
So like what sorts of things would you offer to that small business or that small entrepreneur, I guess?
Yeah. I think it really depended on what they were trying to accomplish.
Gotcha.
And I think it's about getting clear of your goals and being realistic and being able to articulate properly what you're pursuing. Because there's different platforms that provide different things that can help you with those goals. And so if it was a small company that sold something online, it was like, okay, well, let's be realistic with your budget and what you're doing and like the market that you're in. What's the cheapest way to get your message to the right people? And so that might be like, let's do a quick, promo on YouTube, or make sure your shopping is set up correctly. So it was kind of like pivoted towards them. When it comes to people, I had a couple artists, and it was my first experience actually dealing with an artist, and I admired his dedication. He started actually freestyling on the phone when we were talking. I was
I'm
like,
so weak.
I did hype him up. Let me throw that out there. I was
Yeah,
like,
I'm
you
sure.
rap? Like, let me hear something. And he was like, oh, are you serious? I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, you're serious. Okay.
You petty.
But it was funny because I had admired the dedication that he would literally, because we work off of like, how much are you spending? And if you spend enough, then you qualify to get a rep per se. And he was spending an amount, but he's like, I want to spend more. I'm like, well, do you? He's like, no, like, give me a couple weeks. I'm gonna figure some stuff out. And I'm like, okay, don't hurt yourself. And then he came back and was like, I cut my cable off so I could put money towards this.
Wow.
I'm serious. And that's when I was like, okay, let's really get this. And that's when you begin to build that investment in people that you're working with. Of like, oh, you're okay. I'm gonna be as serious as you are.
Right.
And so for him, it was like, let's get your people up to your site. Let's get your people up to your page. Do you have videos on there? Do you have your music on there? It was like, well, no, I have one song I'm promoting. Okay, well, I'm not going to allow you to pay for this right now. So get all your content up first and then call me when your page is up. So because it's the point that I think people miss oftentimes with marketing is that the main goal of marketing, if you're using advertising YouTube, is to drive people to make an action, right? And to drive them to a space. Mm-hmm. And if there's no space or no content or anything for them to grab onto, you're wasting your money. And so it was really making sure like you have a deep stack of just stuff you can pull out. Your page is up, it's developed, and we have a clear like call to action of, we got them here. Now, what are they doing? Are they listening to you? Are you looking to get your streams up? Are you looking to get people to the page? Are you looking for people to download, to find you? Whatever the case may be, there's ways to do that, which is what I was just offering off the music people or people in the industry specifically.
Got you. Now, how would you use technology or just different platforms to promote a new project or product? Like, I mean, you named a few things that you could use to like pivot that content. Mm-hmm. And that obviously if Google owns YouTube, like utilizing that platform and things like that. But for someone who has absolutely no idea, they have the content, they're just not really getting the numbers or the views or even like understanding who their target, how do they find those things out, and do they go through Google or, what other, because I know we'll get into the other social media platforms if you're privy to leveraging those as well, but studying the analytics, finding out who your core audience is, mm-hmm. these things that we've had conversations about, but like, how would you talk to an independent artist?
Yeah, no, I think the internet and technology has provided a way to get so much access and information. Like for you not to know something is because you purely didn't take the time to look it up. Facts. That's like the number one belief I have is you can Google something and it will give you a plethora of options. And if you're more of a visual person, go to YouTube. I'm sure someone's doing it on YouTube, right? Yeah. So it would be one, realizing your resources and understanding, okay, I don't know more about this, but let me get into that. Mm-hmm. And then you begin to put yourself into spaces like, Google, they host like workshops where you can come in and you can learn. But if you didn't look up how to get better in advertising, then you wouldn't know.
Right.
So it's definitely leveraging those resources. And then from there, you understand like what is actually at my hand that I can grab and what's free, because Google Analytics is free. And so then it's like, well, how do I rate this platform? What is this platform for? Whereas like if you don't understand how people are interacting with your page, Google Analytics allows you to look that up. It was like, well, I don't know what my demographic is. Well, put a tag on the page, and then you can begin to figure it out that way. Mm-hmm. And then another option too is just to kind of put it out there and see who resonates with it the most, because what you could be thinking you're targeting, because it would target to you, is actually hitting a whole different demographic of people, and you're having much more success doing, plan B than you were doing plan A.
Right.
And so I think it's being open to the feedback that the people will give you kind of naturally, as opposed to saying like, no, this was specifically for this age demographic. Why is it resonating with them? And then I would also look at just the content that you're producing. Like, is it good content? Is it quality? Because we do have a paradox of choice of, if I'm not rocking with you, I can go with the next person and the next person after that. In competition, like the barrier to entry is so low that competition's at an all-time high. And the circulation is so quick to where you may be popping this week and the next month, no one knows where you are because we can't find you because you're under so much other stuff. And so it's making sure that you're leveraging the right resources and having the right structures in place, that you have benchmarks and you have things to hold you accountable to, like, okay, I should be doing this. So even if it's setting Google alerts to say, I want to get an article, once a day about something pertaining to advertising. I want to get an article, something pertaining to the music industry or how digital has affected the music industry. There's plenty of things that you can just always do to beef up your knowledge in that place. And after that, things will just start kind of coming to you naturally, or you'll start putting yourself in spaces that allow for you to receive those things.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Would you suggest leveraging each platform, like for social media, differently? Because, we obviously have so many options for social media, and the advice that I've always been given as a content creator and for those who are artists is that you need to be seen everywhere. Mm-hmm. But, like, what does Facebook offer that Instagram doesn't, and Twitter and Google, YouTube, and so forth? Like,
you definitely have to look at them in different mediums because they provide different things. Where like Snapchat is like, if people who are using it, like the TikTok is like your day to day, right? Like that's something like, I'm in the moment, I'm in the studio, I'm on a podcast with Sammy right now. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Then
you go to like Instagram, it's more of like your highlight reel, right? So like, what are the high points and what are things that like I don't necessarily have to post every single day or be in the moment, but they are still involved with me. And I think they've changed it because you have like the IGTV, you have the stories. So there's ways to be involved, but I don't have to capture every single part of the day to feel like I'm in your life.
Exactly.
And then you have things like Facebook where they're more, and that's actually pretty interesting how Facebook operates, but that's your connection to your Instagram, right? So you can still have a little bit more content and actually drive them to a page to be able to mark out a message, right? Like it's set up to tell better stories, I feel like, because you have the friends, you have the interest, and you have the space and the pictures to kind of attack everything. You're like, oh, this is so nice. Your family's there typically, So it hits a broader audience, but with more content. And then I think YouTube is the quickest way to reach millions of people. It is the easiest way because people are intentional and you can kind of begin to funnel that through. And then Google, I think it's a push versus a pull, right? So YouTube, I think you can look at it more as a push, right? Like I'm pushing you to read this. I'm pushing you to look at this. I'm pushing you to come to my page. I'm pushing you down where I want you to go.
Right.
Where if I'm on Google and I'm searching something up, I'm pulling you.
Got you.
Right? Like I have an intention based of what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on, like I said, how you're trying to get your people to listen to you, what action you're trying to get them to take and where they are in the consideration of you and, becoming a fan.
And would you, I guess from like a artist or content creator standpoint, you would say YouTube would be like the...
Yes.
Where you should be like focusing your attention.
Yeah, definitely. But on all platforms though, it's still being consistent.
True.
Like it's still making sure that each part that you're putting out is still consistent of your brand. But if you are a content creator, if you are, in that realm, definitely YouTube is going to be the best option. But it goes back to what we were talking about before of having the quality and everything intact because you're now... Let's say I think it's like 600 hours or things like, I don't know, it's a crazy number that's uploaded like hourly.
On YouTube?
Yes. Really? So it's a lot of content. So you have to begin to be like, well, how can I stand out amongst that content?
Right. But I mean, and then you see some videos, or I've seen some videos that do really, really well. And it's just like a person or maybe on a platform like a Twitter where you can upload a video and it's just like a person rapping in their car and like no rhyme or reason to it. It's just a really good freestyle and people will go crazy over it. And they upload that to YouTube and it goes crazy. Or cover videos that are very simplistic, but you make a good point where you're saying like so many people are uploading to YouTube. Your stuff has to still be at a certain quality in order to get those views or those eyes. But like in those other kind of random viral video moments, like what would you say or could you say that attest to that reaching so many people?
Yeah, so it's crazy you say that. So I recommend that everyone read this book, and maybe you guys have read it, but it's called Contagious by Jonah Berger. And it talks about why things go viral and how to make yourself go, how to make like certain things go viral. And typically when something goes viral like that, is usually to like there's an emotion behind it of like, I felt so good in seeing this, I wanted to share it. Or, and they were talking about when you share something sad, you want to share something that more so provokes an action than a depression. Like, so more so anger than a depression because no one wants to share when they're sad. But when you're angry, it's like, I want something to be done about this. So it talks about the methodical planning that goes into why something can pop and how to make something pop. And it's kind of like the exclusivity of it, the word of mouth, all the different things that kind of tie into that. And different things pop for different reasons. And you never know what's going to pop and why it popped until it does. But that's the whole point of having everything together. So when that opportunity presents itself, you pop and then you have people to be like, oh, this video was great. The person was rapping, but they also got 10 other videos that I'm rocking when I'm a fan. Right. As opposed to you just having that one moment and then it's like, oh, then it died down because you had nothing else to give them.
Right.
So
like, I use this comparison a lot because it's most recent, but like a Lil Nas X and Old Town Road and how they like, they continue to do the remixes to continue
to keep the name
name out there. But like then he had to come and make sure that the project was A1. So like now people still are like, okay, now you have Panini that's rocking the charts and, these other things coming after that. So I agree completely. So let's go into, I guess, analytics from those platforms.
Okay.
How could one leverage their analytics from the platforms that you mentioned before, be it YouTube metrics or Google Analytics? I know that that's like a really big thing that you can utilize as anybody has a product or a service that they're trying to market. So how would you say someone might leverage those analytics?
Yeah, so analytics tell you a lot. So say once you set the tag up on your website, or where it's going to be probably your website, or if you're on YouTube, things like that, wherever you're engaging it.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but when you say tag, I mean,
So,
obviously we know
sorry,
hashtags
right.
and things like that, but just...
Let me correct. So there's a piece of code that you
Yes.
have to place on your website or on something so that we can begin to track how people are interacting with your site.
Gotcha.
And so once that is set into place, then analytics can begin to show you like, okay, they spent a lot of time on this website, or they left as soon as they got there, or your people are coming from this form. So say if they're coming from Twitter or Facebook, this is where they came from. This is the page that they landed on, and this is how they interacted with this page. This is how they went through your website. This is how they interacted with what they saw, what they didn't like, and then this is where they went afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows you to see a full funnel of they came from here, they stayed here, and then they left to go here. So that's just one way to look at it. There's another way to say, okay, most people who are coming to your site or your page are 45 to 50. Most people who are coming to your page are from this general area. So they may be from the South if you're just targeting the South.
Mm-hmm.
And when you begin to gather all of these different insights, then you could say, okay, so based off of what I know now, what is the best way that I can target what I'm looking to do? Mm-hmm. And you can also see like what worked and what didn't. Mm-hmm. So when I dropped this got a lot of stuff this got a lot of like my interaction rate like went high. A lot of people came to my site. A lot of people had to say something about this. This didn't. Why didn't it work? Was it the quality that was off? Was it just the song that was off? Was it just the content, the message that was off? Something happened between there and there, or maybe it could just be like the season of like it's Christmas, so people aren't really online like that. So there's a lot of things that come into a play, but when you begin to have stuff that's put out and you can see like, okay, consistently across the board, this is, we did this well and it worked here. Let's do this again over here. We tried this, it didn't work. So it just gives you you're not walking into a dark room.
Yeah, you can and it also takes a certain level of self-awareness,
Mm-hmm.
I think, too, because a lot of times artists are like, I know this is good, I know this is fine, so
okay.
This, right, exactly. And then you have to be real with yourself and be like, no, maybe it was the music this time.
And yeah, and I think we were talking about that the first time of like, you have to have good content and you can think something's pop, but if it's not, like, don't be in denial. Let's be real. This wasn't it. It was it. I mean, it's sure it was for you because you made it and it was your baby, but it didn't hit like that.
Resonate.
Right. It wasn't the move.
Yeah, me and Jamie sat on a panel for Miss Arlinda's Music Business Empowerment Conference, and we sat on the digital panel. So Jamie was giving a lot of knowledge on the Google Ads side and just also what it takes for you as an artist to propel yourself online. But then my question too is online versus grassroots, because you talked about the age range or
Mm-hmm.
where these people are. How important is it to also then take what you found out online and who you're reaching to bring it to the forefront in person, and to of course artists are doing shows and things
Mm-hmm.
like that, so obviously it'll benefit you if you're trying to put together a tour or whatever, but how important do you feel in today's age is it to reach people in person?
Oh, I think it's the most important thing that you can do, because the people that you meet in person and that truly connect with who you are going to be your most loyal people, are going to be the people that are spreading you. And that's because word of mouth is still the best way to get something around. Like let's not confuse that. It's word of mouth still is the most long-standing.
We saw that with the Popeye's chicken sandwich.
Yes.
We saw that with the Popeye's chicken sandwich.
And the thing was, the Popeye's chicken has been around for like 2 years. It's not new.
Right.
So that's when, but it got out and it was like, oh, this is that deal, right? And
Right.
it became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So word of mouth is still very, very important. And I think you have to be about who you say you are online. Like it's very hard to live two different lives. And when I meet you in person, it's nothing like I saw, because now I'm not a fan anymore. And,
Right.
and then I'm going to tell people I don't rock with this person.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you see it time and time again. Like followers don't equate to loyalty. Followers don't equate to money. You can have 1 million followers like Homegirl did with her clothing line and nobody bought anything from her. But she had the wherewithal online, but in person, nobody was rocking with her. So it's still very important, because I think that's going to also keep your ear to the streets as far as what the people want to hear. Mm-hmm. Like, why are you not rocking with that? Why are you rocking with this? Why, where can I keep you going as a listener, right? And it's just that in-person experience. So I would never trade the online world for the digital world. And people, I think, are beginning to kind of come back around to understanding like we lack genuineness online. Mm-hmm. And we as humans, we need that. Like that's the one thing that is going to keep us going is relationships. And when a relationship is not there, you don't grow. Right. So it's important, anything that you do, to still keep that online or that in-person presence about you, and make sure that you're in the community, make sure you're out doing what you need to do, whether it goes back to, like I said, putting out your mixtape, doing shows, meeting with people, you gotta get active.
Absolutely. I agree completely. And I think we lose a sense of realness or authenticity when it is all about online, and not like genuinely touching someone.
Yeah, because it's so fake. And then again, like I said, Instagram and all these social platforms are highlight reels. They don't go through, I've been in the studio for 10 hours straight and like my first 3 songs were terrible. Like they doesn't talk about I was crying last night. I don't know how I'm gonna put this project out. I don't have my team. You know, it doesn't talk about that. And that's what people relate to. People relate to the struggle. People relate to the process. They want to know about that. That's what
vulnerability.
Yeah, because it makes them like, okay, since you did it that way, I can do it too. There's that hope. But if I just see you out here and everything's just popping for you, it's like, no. You know, like, and I think it was something that just went, you know, viral not too long ago. It was like with Summer Walker, like 2 years ago, she was cleaning up houses, and now, you know, so
Summer So Clean or something like that. Yeah,
and so it's like that's beautiful, and I rock with you because your journey. I don't rock with you. You know, the music's dope, but I rock with you for you.
And she didn't delete the page either. She just like this was my life.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that we're getting away from is like this fake, and I'm out here to prove this and that, and it's like you don't have to do that. People will rock with the real you.
Absolutely, I agree with that completely. Now what sort of budget do you need to have if you're inquiring about reaching out to Jamie to get some account services at Google?
So
from a small scale to a large scale.
So if we're talking about like personally at Google, there's not a really way that you can get into my book that way.
Gotcha.
Just because we're working with like
big clients,
right. Like I said, that are spending $240 million a year. Like, yeah, so we're
$240 million on advertising.
Yeah. So I wouldn't hit me up there.
But do you do consulting?
But yeah, I do consulting, and I do individual sessions. And I can, like I said, plug in my email. You can find me. What's the best way? Because you can still hit me up on my Google email. It's just jmcoleman@google.com. And then, like I said, we can take it offline and we'll talk that way. And I offer consulting services that way. But yeah, as far as like the things that we offer those clients is going to be slightly different. But you can go through me.
Awesome. And I want to ask you one last thing, if we can touch on this. Is there a way, or how do you turn data into money? So I have accrued this many impressions on my content. How do I turn that data into money? Can I turn that data into money?
So yes, you can. But it kind of has to be so the best way to do that is via YouTube, right? So when you have like a certain amount of views or subscribers, when you get to a certain threshold, YouTube will start paying you because you're bringing people to the site. However, where most of your money is going to come from is advertisers wanting to advertise on your page. So, excuse me, I can't think of the exact number. Again, if you Google it, you'll find it. But there's a certain amount or a threshold that you have to hit as far as views and subscribers wise, that then open up like Google's advertising people to you. They're like, okay, so like like I've seen like the earning thing on everything. So that's a way to come in. So most of your money from that way, unless you're getting like millions and millions of views, is going to come from advertising.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Okay, so what's next for Jamie? I know you're offering your consulting services. First off, shout out to your dad and Curtis.
Yes. Love them.
That's how we looped in, even though I'd already met you. Mm-hmm. That's how we looped in to make sure you were on this podcast, because they actually went to or played football together mm-hmm. and like lived together and everything. So shout out to them. Shout out to Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan State. So he's over there wearing his shirt now.
All the time.
I said all the time. A Spartan is not far away. Next for me, yeah. So I am. I'm in the process of going back to school, get my master's.
Yes. What are you going to get your master's in?
So entrepreneurship. And so it'll still be an MBA, like a master's of business, but it'll be with the pathway of entrepreneurship.
Nice.
I think digital and technologies open up a lot of gateways where you need to be able to be innovative and creative. I don't think the old routine way of working is gonna be the way of the future. So I'll be pursuing those endeavors next.
I'm excited for you and your journey, Jamie.
Thank you. I'll keep you posted.
Yes, best wishes to you. And I'd also want to just note to those listening that, even though you may have been on a certain path to begin with or thought that your life was going to be this, sometimes we are redirected into other ways. Yes. And I think that is a testament to your journey. Absolutely.
Most definitely.
Would you trade it for the world?
No, I wouldn't.
Absolutely.
I would not, no. got me here. So
Yeah, Jamie gave a lot of insight on the ad side, and we'll probably have to get you back for like a workshop so we can get people
definitely
in here, because we bring about 30 people into the studio. And that way it can be that real connection outside of the podcast. So
most definitely.
Let's work to do that.
Yes.
Tell them where they can find you on social media if you mind sharing.
Yes, I'm consistent. It's across the board. It's JM Coleman 3, Instagram, Twitter. I don't be on Facebook, so don't try to add me there.
Same.
Yeah, and then like I said, if you guys are looking just to get a little bit more insight, like I said, my email is just jmcoleman@google.com. So.
Lovely. Thank you, Jamie. And as always, you guys can tune into this podcast and find us on socials at IDM Podcast, as well as myself at Sammy Approved on all social media platforms. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.
Sonically superior.